Lord, to you, and this flower, and also the services, morning service that will follow, and that will be careful to give you all the glory, the honor, and the praise, for thou art worthy. In Christ's most precious name, and holy name, amen. Let's go and respected Sunday school.
Okay, let's open up our Bible in the book of First Kings. We'll continue about our study with Elisha. Last week we studied about Elijah, and then we continue on the vineyard of Naboth, and now we are going to discuss about Elisha. Pastor already prayed for Sunday school, so we just go on to the study. First Kings chapter 9. First Kings chapter 19, verse 19, that's the first time that Elisha was mentioned right here. God had commissioned Elijah to go against Elisha to have a Okay, so just a quick review of what we have discussed last week. We discussed about the vineyard of Naboth, and we discussed that sin will still seek us out, no matter how far we, or how we even bury the thing or things like those, or we avoided those sins, it will seek us out. Okay. Remember what was the sin of Ahab and Jezebel? Just a quick review of what we have discussed. Remember when Ahab wanted the vineyard of Naboth, he was pouting because Naboth would not sell the vineyard. And it was so because they were commanded by God not to sell their inheritance. So that was what Naboth told Ahab, and Ahab doesn't want it. He is actually, he has so many vineyards, but he is in fact, his eyes on the vineyard of Naboth. So instead of allowing Naboth to retain his inheritance, what happened? Jezebel, the wife of Ahab, told Ahab, hey, I'll take care of this, and then devise a plan and deceive a lot of people, and they end up stoning Naboth and end up having the vineyard, having Ahab on the vineyard. So that's what happened on chapter 18 and 19 of the book of First Kings. But notice, even though nobody knows about it, okay, only Ahab and only Jezebel and those cohorts that they have, only those guys knows about what happened to Naboth, but God knows what happened to Naboth, and he would not let that slip by. So, as time goes by, what was the judgment of God to Ahab and Jezebel? What was the judgment? They will be killed, and I left that for Ahab, and the dogs will lick his blood. How about Jezebel? Same thing. They will be, Jezebel will meet her death, at the same time they will, or dogs will eat her. And that happened. Okay. So we can see here from the study that we have learned last week that nothing can be hidden from God. God knows everything. And also we have discussed that, like I said, sin will seek us out. We may have been pardoned of the sins that we have committed, but still we are going to suffer the consequences sometimes of those sins. Okay. So now we are on chapter 19, just a brief encounter with Elisha and Elijah. So 1 Kings chapter 19, starting on verse 19. I'll read, you guys can follow. 19 says, So he departed thence and found Elisha, the son of Shaphat, and who was plowing with 12 yokes of oxen before him, and he with 12, and Elijah passed by him and cast his mantle upon him. So in here, in chapter 19, we see that Elijah passed his mantle. What is a mantle? It's a coat. Okay? What he did was Elijah put the coat to Elisha, signifying that there will be a transfer of authority from Elijah to Elisha. So that meant by passing the mantle. Okay? Verse 20. And he left the oxen and ran after Elijah and said, Let me, I pray thee, kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow thee. And he said unto him, Go back again, for what have I done to thee? And he returned back from him, and took a yoke of oxen, and slew them, and boiled their flesh with the instruments of the oxen, and gave it unto the people, and they did eat. Then he arose and went after Elijah, and he restored unto him. So what happened right here is, God had said, hey, go over to Elijah, and Elisha will be your replacement. God told Elijah, right? That one. But notice what Elisha had done. And what did he do? What did Elisha do? So basically what he did was he was a farmer. So we can see here that he was plowing the land. And then when Elijah told him, hey, you will be my next replacement, because he passed the mantle, the coat of Elijah to Elisha, signifying that, hey, there will be a transfer of authority from Elijah to Elisha. Okay, so Elisha, okay, notice what he did. He killed the oxen and offered it to the people. Okay, so what does that tell us about the attitude of Elisha at this time? There's no turning back. Okay. There is no turning back. Oxen, carabaos, things like those animals, the work animals are so important for the farmers. And once you get rid of them, have you seen a farmer having the yoke on his back and trying to farm? You know, it's very hard to farm without those animals. But Elisha right here, okay, knowing that he would not come back and he would not be a farmer no more, that he killed the oxen that he's used for working. There's one incident before history. Everybody remembers a general who did that. They went to a certain place, burn out all the boats that they have. Yep, it's a general. Anybody knows? In 1519, General Hernan Cortez, when he was about to go to Incas, to conquer the Incas, what he did was, after he landed, he burned all his boats except one. He got so many boats because they are conquering the Incas during those times. His thinking was, hey, if I burn all these boats, if I burn all these ships, these men, what do you think these men will do? They cannot swim back, they cannot return. All they can do is move forward. And they have succeeded. No turning back. Same thing with Elisha right here. Today, there's no way I will be coming back farming. Okay? That's why I'm cooking this oxen, giving it to the people, and go and follow Elijah. Okay? So jumping on second Kings, because chapter 21 of 1 Kings tells about the Naboth, which we have discussed last week. And then chapter 22 also discuss about Ahab, and how Ahab got killed, and also Jezebel. So we go now to the second Kings, the second book of the Kings, starting on verse 1. And then read, you guys can follow.
Verse 1 says, Then Moab rebelled against Israel after the death of Ahab, and Ahaziah fell down through a lattice in his upper chamber that was in Samaria and was sick. And he sent messengers and said unto them, Go inquire of Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron, whether I shall recover of this disease. But the angel of the Lord said to Elijah the Tishbite, Arise, go up to meet the messengers, the king of Samaria, and say unto them, It's not because there is not a God in Israel that you go to inquire of Baal-zebub, god of Ekron. Now therefore, thus saith the Lord, Thou shalt not come down from the bed on which thou art gone up, but shalt surely die. And Elijah replied.
So we can see here we have a jealous God. He would not share anything. He would not share his glory to anybody else. So he's basically telling Isaiah, hey, how come you are inquiring of a false God, of an idol? Instead of inquiring from me, you inquired from an idol. So because of that, you will not recover. Okay? Verse 4. Now therefore, thus saith the Lord, Thou shalt not come down from the bed on which thou art gone up, but surely shall die. And Elijah departed. When the messengers turned back unto him and said unto them, Why are ye not turned back? And they said unto him, There came a man up to meet us, and said unto us, Go turn again unto the king that sent you, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Is it not because there is not a God in Israel that thou sendest to inquire of Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron? Therefore thou shalt not come down from the bed on which thou art gone up, but shalt surely die. And he said unto them, What manner of man was he which came up to meet you, and told you these words? And they answered him, He was a hairy man, and girt with a girdle of leather about his loins. And he said, It is Elisha the Tishbite. Then the king sent unto him a captain of 50, and he was with his 50, and he went up to him, and behold, he sat on top of the hill, and he spake unto him, Thou man of God, the king had said, Come down. And Elijah answered and said to the captain of 50, If I be a man of God, then let fire come down from heaven, and consume thee and thy 50. And there came down fire from heaven, and consumed him and his 50. Again also he said unto him, Another captain of his 50, it is 50, so it's now 100. The first time there was 50 men with this captain, and we went to Elijah, and Elijah said, Hey, if I am a man of God, let fire consume you guys. Okay, so they did not learn their lessons. Another 50 came with another 50, so now it's 100 men. Okay, verse 11. And again, also he said unto him, Another captain of 50 with his 50, and answered and said unto him, O man of God, now the king said, Come down quickly. And Elijah answered and said unto them, If I be a man of God, let fire come down from heaven, and consume thee by 50. And the fire of God came down from heaven, and consumed him and his 50. And he sent again a captain of the third party with his 50, and the third captain of 50 went up, came and fell on his knees before Elijah, and brought besought him, and said unto him, O man of God, I pray thee that my life and the life of these 50 thy servants be precious in thy sight. Behold, there came fire down from heaven, and burned up the two captains, the former 50s with their 50s. Therefore let my life now be precious in thy sight. And the angel of the Lord said unto Elijah, Go down with him, be not afraid of him. And he arose and went down with him unto the king. So 3 times. The first one was 50 men. The second time with 100 men. The third time is 150 men. But what is the difference between the 3 incidents right here? Yeah, the last guy was humble. Remember what the captain, the first captain said, Hey, you come down here and come with me. The second guy said, Hey, you come down and come with me. But the third guy, the third captain said, Hey, I know you're a man of God. I know you can do these things, but spare my life and the life of these men. Okay? So, in here we can see that again, humility right here. Okay? What did the Bible say about God resisting the proud? Right? So, right here we can see that, hey, humility goes a long way. So what are examples of humility that we can show that it goes a long way? In a free way. Sometimes when somebody cut us off, what do we do? Honk our horns or just pass go by him and slam our brakes, right? Is that a show of humility? Sure is now, right? But at the same token, we do it sometimes. But look
if that person you just overtook and then slam your brake as a God, what do you think would happen? But if you let that man go and tell him that's your brother or that's your sister, hey, you'll avoid the confrontations. How many times did we see in the news that somebody got a road rage and got killed because of that? So humility goes a long way. Okay? Do not be bothered by those people that sometimes, hey, we cannot do anything about those things. Okay? But we can. Okay? We cannot change those things. We cannot change those incidences. We cannot change how people react, but we can change how we react on these things in our life. Look at the men right here. 3 generals or 3 captains right here. The first 2 have the same attitude, but the third man is in humility. And he is humble enough to recognize that, hey, God is God. This is the man of God that I need to respect him. And that caused him to save himself and his men. Okay? So going back to our text. Okay? 16, and he said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, for as much as thou hast sent messengers to inquire of Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron, it is not because there is no God in Israel to inquire of his word. Therefore thou shalt not come down off that bed on which thou art gone up, but shall surely die. So he died according to the word of the Lord, which Elijah had spoken. And Jehoram reigned in his stead in the 2nd year of Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, because he had no son. Now the rest of the acts of Uzziah, which he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the king of Israel? Chapter 2. Now it concerns about Elijah and Elisha. And it came to pass when the Lord would take up Elijah into heaven by a whirlwind, that Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgal. And Elijah and said unto Elisha, Tarry here, I pray thee, for the Lord hath sent me to Bethel. And Elisha said unto him, As the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. So they went down to Bethel. So notice, it's about 20 years now had passed since Elijah had told Elisha to come there. Okay, it's about 20 years. So we can see here that Elijah had been training Elisha to be his replacement. It's been 2 years. Now God is about to take Elijah away. Okay. Notice in here, it's something that is extraordinary how Elijah will be taken away in a whirlwind. Okay. Verse 3. The sons of the prophets that were in Bethel came forth to Elisha and said unto him, Knowest thou that the Lord will take away thy master from thy head today? And he said, Yea, I know it. Hold ye your peace. So everybody knows that Elijah will be God. Everybody knows that he will soon leave, but nobody knows how. Okay? Nobody knows how. Elijah and even the prophets during those times doesn't know, but they knew that Elijah would go away. And verse 4, And Elijah said unto him, Elisha, tarry here, I pray thee, for the Lord hath sent me to Jericho. And he said, As the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. So they came to Jericho. And the sons of the prophets that were at Jericho came to Elisha and said unto him, Knowest that thou, Lord, will take away thy master from thy head today? And he answered, Yea, I know it, hold ye your peace. And Elijah said unto him, Tarry, I pray thee, here for the Lord hath sent me to Jordan. And he said, As the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. And they two went on. And the 50 men of the sons of the prophets went and stood to view afar off, and they stood by Jordan. And Elijah took his mantle and wrapped it together and smote the waters, and they were divided hither and thither, so that they too went over on dry ground. So in here, in the river Jordan, what did Elijah do? Took his mantle out, strike the water, and the water parted. Okay. How many times did we saw a body of water that was parted? One is at the time of Moses. How about the time of Jericho? Joshua, Jericho. And And then this one, also Elijah parted the river Jordan. So we can see here, hey, there is a pattern right here. Okay, that hey, God uses these men right here. Okay. Going back to our text, verse 8, and Elijah took his mantle and wrapped it together and smote the waters, and they were divided either and either, so that they two went over on dry ground. So not only did he part the waters, but they walked on dry ground. Not only that, okay? So if you part the water, if you get into an experiment where you part the water, what happens to the ground? Muddy, still wet. Okay? So we can see entirely here, it's not the wind that parted the water. It's not any super weather or things like those, like others some claim that, hey, maybe it's a low tide, maybe it's something that, there's a strong wind that parted the river. No, because it is clearly said here in the Bible that they went over dry land. Why do you think God had put it in there in the Bible that says that two went over on dry land? So that there will be no mistake that it is the hand of God that parted the river. There's no way or there's no explanation that you can say, hey, they parted the river through body of water and they had dry land. Nobody can explain that. How can you explain that? Probably during those times they got a big, what do you call it when they dry your hair? There's no such thing as that. Okay, so we can see here from the verses we just have read, the power of God, the hand of God, right here, parting the river of Jordan. There's no mistake that this is God's hand. Okay, verse 9. And it came to pass when they were gone over that Elijah said unto Elisha, ask what I shall do for thee before I be taken away from thee. And Elijah said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon thee. So what is Elijah is actually asking right here? A double portion of his Elijah's spirit. What does that mean? That Elijah wants God to use him mightily, even surpass how God used Elijah. That's what he's asking, that he will be serving God more. Look at who in the Bible, the thing, the one that we have discussed before, asked God for something that he could be a better leader. Solomon, what was his prayer? That he would have the wisdom so that he could rule Israel. Right here, Elijah is telling everybody and telling Elijah, hey, I intercede for me that God will use me. Okay, that is what it means by a double portion. Okay, verse 10. And he said, thou hast asked a hard thing, nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so unto thee, but if not, it shall not be so. And it came to pass that they still went on and thought that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. It must be a wonderful sight to see that. Okay, and Elisha actually saw this. Okay, that Elijah was taken away. He never saw that right here, but he was taken away. And the manner that he was taken out was what? He was taken out by the whirlwind. But notice that there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire. Yep. It's amazing probably to look at. Okay? To be amazed. Okay? will be amazed at what Elijah had seen right here. Verse 12. And Elijah saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariot of Israel, and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more. And he took hold of his own clothes and rent them in two pieces. He took up also the mantle of Elisha that fell from him, and went back and stood by the bank of Jordan. And he took the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and smote the waters, and said, where is the Lord God of Elijah? And when he also had smitten the waters, they parted hither and thither, and Elisha went over. The same miracle that Elijah had done, okay, is the same miracle that Elisha has done. Why do you think? Okay, why do you think that Elisha did the same thing? Confirmation. Remember who was watching them? The other 50 prophets. Okay, they knew that Elijah was the prophet. And when they saw the water be parted because of his strike with his mantle, the body of water that he parted, the same thing that Elijah had done with using the mantle that was given back to him. Okay? So confirming that God had commissioned Elijah to be his prophet. That God would use Elijah mightily. The next few chapters right here, okay, we'll see how God used Elijah. Okay, so going back to our text. So he parted the river Jordan at that time. Okay. Verse 15. And when the sons of the prophets which were with you at Jericho saw him, they said, the spirit of Elijah doth rest on Elisha. And they came to meet him and bowed themselves to the ground before him. And they said unto him, behold, now there be with thy servants 50 strong men. Let them go, we pray thee, and seek thy master, that peradventure the Spirit of the Lord has taken him up, and cast him upon some mountains, or into some valley, and he said, he shall not send. And when they urged him till he was ashamed, he said, send. They said, therefore 50 men they sought 3 days, but found him not. And when they came again to him, for he carried a journey, he said unto them, did I not say unto you, go not? So in here, the 50 men right here, the 50 prophets, he's saying, Elijah, hey, where is Elijah? And then we better search for him. Okay, but they searched for 3 days and they found him not, because God already taken. And what did Elijah say? Hey, I told you so. Okay. Sometimes we do the same thing, right? We do the same thing that it's already clear what God has been telling us, and yet we say, hey, I better seek another way around or another thing. So something that we need to learn also. Hey, when God says it, do not make or do not repeat it again and ask him. Okay. Sometimes in our prayer life, okay, how did God answer prayers? Yes, no, wait. Right? Those 3 answers. When God answered yes, hey, good. Okay. And wait, God answered wait. Be faithful in waiting. But when God answers no, what do we do sometimes? Sometimes you don't hear about God. You don't want to hear what God has answered and seek another. God already answers our prayers. God only answered 2 things. Yes, no. If he answers already no, move on. Just like David, he asks for his son to be healed. Remember that the son with Bathsheba? He asked for it that they will be healed, but God didn't answer his prayers. And once the son was died, what did he do? He rose up, put his kingly robe, and go on. That should be the attitude of Christians also. When God answers for our prayers, we should be, as Christians, should accept this as it is. Okay. Sometimes we ask for something that God already answers. I'm not sure if I told you. So there was a man who was asking for a girl to be his wife. And then the wife already married and still praying about it. That's a clear indication that the wife or the girl already married. It's a clear indication that God says so. Now we need to accept what God has answered. Okay. Back to our text. Okay. Here are some of the miracles that Elijah had done. Okay, verse 19. And the men of the city said unto Elijah, Behold, I pray thee, the situation in this city is pleasant, as my Lord seeth, but the water is not, and the ground barren. And he said, Bring me a new cruse, and put salt therein. And they brought it to him. And he went forth unto the spring of the waters, cast the salt in there, and said, Thus saith the Lord, I have healed these waters, there shall not be from thence any more death or barren land. So the waters were healed unto this day, according to the saying of Elijah, which is spake. And he went up from thence unto Bethel. And as he was going up by the way, there came forth little children out of the city, and mocked him, and said unto him, Go up, and thou bald head, go up, thou bald head. And he turned back and looked at them, and cursed them in the name of the Lord. And there came forth 2 she-bears out of the wood, and bare 40 and 2 children of them. And he went from thence to Mount Carmel, from thence he returned to Samaria. 2 things that happen right here. First is, making water out of nothing. Without rain, without anything, there was water. Okay. We can cry all we want. If there's no water, there's no water. We cannot make water. Okay. And we saw right here that it's not just water right here, but it is a lot of water that was made right here. And then the children was mocking Elisha because of what? Elisha was bald. So many of you are getting bald and don't worry about it. Right? It's natural. Okay? But these children who was mocking him got eaten by birds. Okay? Chapter 3. Now Jehoram, son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel and Samaria in the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and reigned 12 years. And he wrought evil in the sight of the Lord, but not like his father and like his mother, for he put away the image of Baal that his father had made. Nevertheless, he cleaved unto the siege of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, which made Israel to sin. He pardoned not their faults. And Mesha, king of Moab, was a shipmaster, and rendered unto the king of Israel 100,000 lambs and 100,000 rams to the rule. But it came to pass when Ahab was dead, that the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel. And King Jehoram went out of East Samaria at the same time, and numbered all Israel, and went and sent to Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, saying, The king of Moab hath rebelled against me. Wilt thou go with me against Moab to battle? And he said, I will go up. As thou art my people, as thy people, and my horses thy horses. And he said, Which way shall we go up? And he said, The way through the wilderness of Edom. So the king of Israel went unto the king of Judah and the king of Edom, and they fetched a compass of 7 days' journey. And there was no water for the host and for the cattle that followed them. And the king of Israel said, Alas, that the Lord had called these 3 kings together to deliver them in the hand of Moab. But Jehoshaphat said, Is there not here a prophet of the Lord, that we may inquire the Lord by him? And one of the king of Israel's servants answered and said, Here is Elisha, the son of Shaphat, which poured water in the hands of Elijah. And Jehoshaphat said, The word of the Lord is with him. So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat and the king of Edom went down to him. And Elisha said unto the king of Israel, What have I to do with thee? Get thee to the prophets of thy father, and to the prophets of thy mother. And the king of Israel said unto him, Nay, for the Lord hath called these 3 kings together to deliver them in the hand of Moab. And Elisha said, As the Lord of hosts liveth, before whom I stand surely, were it not that I regard the President Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, I will not look toward thee nor see thee. But now bring me a minstrel. And it came to pass when the minstrel played, that the hand of the Lord came upon him. And he said, Thus saith the Lord, Make the valley full of ditches, for thus saith the Lord, ye shall not see wind, neither shall ye see rain, yet the valley shall be filled with water, that ye may drink, both ye and your cattle and your beasts. Making water here, nothing, no rain, no nothing. They got a drought right there, but there is water where Elijah has said there will be water. In fact, they made ditches. They dug up ditches so that it will be filled with water. Notice that one. Going back to our text. Okay. Verse 18, and this is but a light thing in the sight of the Lord, and he will deliver the Moabites into your hands. And he shall smite every fenced city and every choice, and he shall fell every good tree and stop all wells of water, and bar every good piece of land which stones. And it came to pass in the morning when the meat offering was offered, that behold, there came the water by the way of Edom, and the country was filled with water. And all the Moabites heard that the kings were come up to fight against them. They gathered all that were of foot and armor, and upward and stood the border. They rose up early in the morning, and the sun shone upon the water, and the Moabites saw the water on the side as red as blood. And they said, this is bold, this is blood, the kings are surely slain, and they are smitten one another. Now therefore go up to the spoil. And when they came to the camp of Israel, the Israelites rose up and smote the Moabites, so that they fled before them, but they went forward, smiting the Moabites, even at their country. And they beat down the cities, and on every good piece of land cast every man his stone, and filled it, and they stopped all the wells of water, and felled all the good trees. Only in Kishareseth left made the stones thereof, howbeit the slingers went about and smote it. And when the king of Moab saw that the battle was too sore for him, he took with him 700 men with two swords to break through, even unto the king of Edom, but they could not. Then he took his eldest son that should have prayed in his stead, and offered him for a burnt offering upon the wall, and there was great indignation against Israel. And they departed from him and returned to their own land. Notice in here, okay, the king of Moab, what did he do? He offered his own son for burnt offering. What can you call these acts right here? It's a sign of desperation. It's a sign of, and basically a madman right here. He became mad, okay, and he offered his son for what? For nothing. So sometimes, like, out of desperation, this man will do anything that they can improve what they have. But the only way we can improve ourselves, and the sure way it is to put our attention to the right one. Notice in here, if God wills it, do you think anything that men will do will matter? If he wants Israelites to win this battle, do you think the Moabites will do anything? In the battle of Jericho and the Israelites, do you think if God is not with the Israelites, do you think Jericho will fall? I remember when we studied when they attacked Jericho, it was actually not the Israelites attacking them, but the whole wall of Jericho fell down. And we have a study right there that it was actually not only a wall. Because our idea of a wall is, look at this wall, it's about this thing right here, right? But the wall of Jericho is different. It was, have you seen the wall of China? People can walk on that wall, right? The same way on the walls of Jericho right there. Okay. Do you think Israel alone could destroy those walls? So we can see here the hand of God in everything. Okay. God is in total control of everything. Even though you do, remember, okay, another instance, when Elijah, okay, when Elijah and the prophets of Baal got a contest of who is the true God, what did Elijah told Baal prophets? Go shout some more, go cry some more, and because Baal might be sleeping. Right? Remember what we have said and what we discussed last 2 weeks ago. Okay? You don't have to get God's attention. Because He is always watching. So chapter 4, we'll continue on chapter 4. Okay. Verse 1 says, Now there cried certain women, the wives of the sons of the prophets, unto Elisha, saying, Thy servant my husband is dead, and thou knowest that thy servant did fear the Lord, and the creditor is come to take unto him my 2 sons, 3 bad men. And Elijah said unto him, What shall I do for thee? Tell me, what hast thou in the house? And he said, Thine handmaid hath not anything in the house, save a pot of oil. Then he said, Go borrow these vessels, and brought of all thy neighbors, even empty vessels, borrow not a few. And when thou art come, do not shut the door upon thee and upon thy sons, and shall pour out all those vessels, and thou shalt set aside that which is full. So she went from him and shut the door upon her and upon her sons. He brought the vessels to her, and she poured out. And it came to pass when the vessels were full, that she said unto her son, Bring me yet a vessel. And he said unto her, There is not a vessel more, and the whole stayed. Well, so far, we have seen how Elisha had performed some miracles. Okay, the first one was what? The trading of the water. Remember? Remember you take the salt? Okay. Oh yeah. The first one was parting of the river Jordan. Okay. The second one was treating the water when you put the salt in the water and the water got killed. Second one is, the third one is what? What was the third one? The water coming out of the ditches, right? What else? The kids, remember the kids mocking him because he was bald and bears ate them. Okay. Now, this is another miracle that he has done. Okay. What we have here, okay, remember when Elijah stayed with the Shunammite woman? Okay, what happened there? The pot never got empty, right? And the cruse of oil never got extinguished. So whenever they scoop something out of the pot, they have something to scoop. You will imagine during that time, the Shunammite woman would say, Hey, I'm gonna go. You can see the barrel. Maybe it's almost empty, but whenever she scooped something out of it, he got something. On the barrel of oil, maybe she is probably pouring out, she could lift it up and then pour it. There's nothing on it, but you pour it anyway, there's oil coming out of it. But this time, Elijah, okay, because of the request of this widow, there's some creditors that are, they wanted to get her sons because of the debt that they have, okay. Elijah told them, hey, go borrow a lot of jars, okay, and pour oil into it. It will be filled up with oil. Okay. What do you think would happen if the son would say, hey, there's more jars that we can get? If there are jars, empty jars, it will be filled up. Why do you think it stopped filling up the jars? Because there were no more jars to fill up. Right? So, who hinders who?
God hinders, or did the people who said, hey, go gather empty jars, hinder those things? Sometimes we can learn something on here, on these verses right here, chapter 4. Sometimes we hinder God on what He can do with us. Because we sometimes suffer and live, because sometimes we think that, hey, God can only do so much. So we forget that we have the one and only true God, unlimited God, and He can do everything and anything. Sometimes we limit God on what He can do. When was the last time you prayed and you gave up on that prayer because God has answered you? But sometimes that is our own attitude, even as Christians. We gave up easily. Just like this family right here, the two sons and the widow. They would not have stopped. Hey, the Lord will keep on doing. Sometimes in our Christian lives, we too should not be hindering God or what God can do with us. Because that is hindering God. Next week, we'll continue our study on the life of Elisha. Okay? There's some more interesting things of how God used Elisha. Now we'll go and jump from the book of Chronicles and the book of Kings, because those four books, some of the details are in the book of Chronicles, so we sometimes have to jump in there to get a better understanding of what is the Kings, the book of Kings is. Question, concerns about this study? If not, are there any?